standard. They can add subclauses. They can add paragraphs. They can add words into the subclauses and bullets that describe the requirements of each. Though you'll notice there's nothing that says subtraction. So there's no, you can't take anything out. And the concept of risk can be more specific for the management system standard you're talking about. Okay. This is the high-level structure of the clauses for Annex SL. And this is the high-level structure that is in the new 2015, 9001, 2015. Okay, main changes to the draft international standard is, of course, the high-level structure. It's more explicit requirement for risk-based thinking to support the improvement, understanding, and application of the process approach. And what they want you to do is they want you to look at your interacting processes. So you look at the interacting processes. The output of one process is the input of the other. They want you to look at those processes to see the risks that are involved in each of those processes and how that output impacts the next process and how those risks can multiply. There's fewer prescribed requirements and a de-emphasis on documents. The prescribed requirements are that they're no longer saying you have a procedure and they're giving you requirements for a procedure. They're not doing that anymore. They don't want to tell you what procedures you have to have. You have to have the procedures that function in your quality management system. More relevant to the service industry, there's no longer the product realization, which was the Clause 7 in 2008. It's changed, now it's called operations, basically. Requirements to define the boundaries of your quality management system. You need to establish that. So they're talking about looking at risk and opportunities for your business management system or your management system, quality management system. Once you define the risk and opportunities, you define who your interested parties are. We call them stakeholders here. They call, in the standard, it's called interested parties because stakeholder does not translate very well into many languages. So know that that's why it's interested parties. And then you define the requirements of those interested parties, the relevant requirements. And that kind of gives you a start on establishing the scope of your quality management system. And there's also increased emphasis on organizational context and aligning the organization with the strategy and objectives of the organization itself. So what they're wanting to have happen, instead of it being, here's our quality management system, and here's where we go do business, they're saying no more. They're saying you combine them. You introduce your quality management system objectives with the strategy and objectives of the organization. Increased leadership requirements. The leadership is responsible for the effectiveness of the quality management system. And they can't be passing the buck anymore. There is in the requirements, there is in the leadership section, the top management shall give responsibility and authority to someone or some people, and there's 5 items that are in the requirements for that. Greater emphasis on achieving desired outcomes to improve customer satisfaction. So they're really wanting you to look at what are your results of the quality management system and for your customer satisfaction, making sure you meet those. Okay, so the first thing is the basis of the quality management system are the principles, and they have changed the principles some. The ones in bold are the new principles, and the ones that are less bold are the old ones. So customer focus, leadership, engagement of the people, and that means you engage your people into improving the effectiveness of your quality management system. Process approach, and in that principle they have added the old one, which was the system approach to management, is no longer in the principles because it's added. And then instead of continual improvement, it is improvement, although there is continual improvement stated in the requirements themselves, because that is reoccurring improvement. And then evidence-based decision-making and relationship management instead of just mutually beneficial supplier relationship. So they're looking at a larger idea of managing relationships. Here is the new process-based model from the Draft International Standard. It's matured, and one of the things that is a little bit different with this one is context of the organization is included in it, and that used to be in management responsibility, and it was also part of the scope and general scope of the standard itself. That's where there was the section in the scope and the general the general topic in section 1, which you didn't get audited to, was the place where you could take exclusions to section 7. So that has changed, and we'll get to that. And then 5, leadership used to be management responsibilities, still many of the same components. Planning, resource management. Planning now has some components of the management responsibility and resource management in there. They have separated out some items in support processes, which is a new clause, and the support processes contain training, they contain documented information and controlling that. And then 8 is operations, used to be product realization. And I have service customers, service clients that I have, and we're always going, well, that's product realization. What about service? So that emphasis has been taken away from the product and more globally presented for the service industry also. Performance evaluation, management analysis and improvement was that one. And then in section 10, continual improvement. Still the same plan, do, check, act methodology is being used. Here you can see that there is greater emphasis about with the interaction with